Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal podcast. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Let's talk about Ethan Nwaneri. Now, Arsenal have had a couple of wonder kids on their hands right from the time of Arsene Wenger through to the time of Mikel Arteta, and some of them have actually become really good. If you remember the likes of Theo Walcott, the likes of Cesc Fabregas and Arsene Wenger, to the likes of Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Mikel Arteta, you would say that Arsenal is not short of real wonder kids and real talents. But when we talk about Ethan Nwaneri, something changes, something in the air changes. A 17-year-old that has decided to take Arsenal on his shoulders, just like Bukayo Saka did. I mean, we've talked about a few players, and we've had a few, players that have actually caused a couple of conversations around the media. But Ethan Nwaneri is such a gem. He's such a generational talent on the hands of Arsenal and Mikel Arteta, and it's high time we gave him his flowers. It's high time we talked about Ethan Nwaneri. Now, for me, what is actually very interesting about Nwaneri is his age. He's just 17, he's turning 18, and he's not even sharing the same dressing room as his teammates. I mean, to put that into context, this guy is too young to share the same dressing room as the rest of the Arsenal squad, and therefore he has to change in a separate dressing room, in a separate room, as the elders also change from another room. That is how young Ethan Nwaneri is. And again, to put that into context, Ethan Nwaneri is just 17. Like, when we say 17, you're below the age that we could say you're an adult. And the things he's doing for Arsenal are purely unimaginable. Now, for us, we are lucky as Arsenal fans. We have already had a wonder kid, shoulder us and carry us on his back, and that was Bukayo Saka. I mean, I remember when Mikel Arteta had just come in, this team was really, really short of talent, really short of players that had, technical ability, and therefore we had to rely on Bukayo Saka for around 2-3 seasons, where he was named player of the season. Arsenal had to stomach being carried by a kid, and that is not actually very, very good for your brand, and it doesn't really reflect very well on the team and the management. But somehow Arsenal managed to pull through, being dragged by a kid in Saka. Now, I think where Ethan Nwaneri comes into the picture and why whatever he's doing is insane. When Arsenal lost Saka, we all thought this is gonna be a bad season. I mean, when Arsenal lost Martin Odegaard to injury, we all said we want Saka to step up. When Arsenal didn't have, any creative players, creating chances, we said we need Saka to step up. But when Saka, picked up that injury, you could hear a couple of echoes going through this Arsenal fan base, and their opinion was, our season is over. It is pretty much done. And then comes a wonder kid. Then comes a player that is willing to go and change the game. Then comes a player that is willing to go and raise his standards. And that's why we need to talk about Ethan Nwaneri. The fact that he's a young boy, just 17, that has decided to raise his standards beyond every other player at Arsenal. I mean, I talk about this in terms of directness on goal, in terms of being a threat, but also in terms of just being that quality option that Arsenal can rely on. And listen, when Odegaard picked up that injury, what we saw was Bukayo Saka elevating his level. He started creating more and he started scoring more. And Saka, until now, when it comes to goal contributions combined, he is our most effective player, even with that injury that he has suffered. And that tells you that whenever Arsenal have had an injury in the attacking areas, we've always gone, listen, Saka, we need you, man. We need you to step up. But when Saka picks up that injury, who is going to step up? That was the question. And Ethan Nwaneri, that is the first credit we've got to give him. You don't just come from wherever you've come. You don't just come from the academy and step into the boots of the most important player at the club. That is Bukayo Saka. In terms of goals, in terms of assists, in terms of traffic, how many times Arsenal pumped the ball into Saka's feet. Ethan Nwaneri has come in and just replaced Saka. Now, I'm not saying he's better. I'm not saying he is as effective as Saka. That would be a lie. But I think Arsenal fans feel confident when Nwaneri is on the pitch, on the right wing, more than we feel when Martinelli is there, more than we feel when Sterling is there, and more than we felt when Fabio Vieira played there. The thing with the thing with Nwaneri and why he's such a special player, we will talk about his versatility. And I've already talked about Nwaneri in one, in my video on the Kosi Arsenal channel. If you've not watched it, please do go check it out. But what is special about Ethan Nwaneri is his maturity as a young boy. Like, as a young player, he can afford to make a few mistakes, and we will all go, he's a young player, he will improve. But Ethan Nwaneri is effortlessly, I would say perfect. That's the word I'm going to use, right? He's effortlessly perfect. And for that age, for you to be able to drive at defenses, take on players 1v1, shoot, create with that level of, success, with that level of perfection, I think Yamal, I think Musiala, you've got company, and that company comes in Ethan Nwaneri. So for me, the thing I like about Ethan Nwaneri the most, he's our most creative player without Saka. And that comes from the fact that he's very, very direct as a player and is so attack-minded. I want you to take your thoughts back to the Brighton draw, 1-1. Ethan Nwaneri scoring the goal that we had, and then João Pedro getting a fake penalty and converting it. In that game, how many times did we see Ethan Nwaneri being or trying to be the difference? In that game, how many times did we see Ethan Nwaneri trying to create something out of the ordinary? And then we talk about his goal. Because the goal he scored against Brighton is crazy. This is a crazy run. He's into the penalty area. He's got options, right? In that penalty area. The run alone shows you a player that is so direct, a player that is willing to defy all odds to get into the penalty area. That run and those runs that he makes, they're very direct runs. I think there's a very big difference between Martinelli this season and a player like, and a player like Ethan Nwaneri. And the difference between those two is this. Martinelli picks up the ball, gets it into his feet, juggles it around, and then passes it back. When it comes to Ethan Nwaneri, he actually doesn't care. He gets the ball, doesn't need a lot of time to juggle it. He knows where he's going. He is going forward. Whatever happens, he is going forward. So for me, I've already said that Arsenal need players with that mentality. Arsenal need players with that forward mentality, that attack mind. I think Ethan Nwaneri is. That's what makes him very, very special. And on top of that, he wants to do that, and he does it with that level of perfection. Now, for Mikel Arteta, why Ethan Nwaneri is very special, it is the versatility of the boy. Like, guys, there's nothing we could say about him. There is nothing we can say. Like they've said, Phil Foden, this and that, Cole Palmer, this and that. Ethan Nwaneri could play as an 8. Nwaneri could play as a 10. Nwaneri could play as a 7. And you still get the same results, which is a quality performance. Like, this kid is carrying Arsenal on his shoulders, and every other single player out there, players that we signed for 50 million, 60 million, 70 million, they seem to like it, and they seem to be okay with it. So I think Arsenal have got a very, very big job. This is a very big talent for me. We've talked about talents in the past, this and that. But this is a massive talent for Mikel Arteta. This is a massive talent for Arsenal. If we get him to act in the right way, if we protect him the way he should be protected, Nwaneri is a big talent. He is something huge. He's something very, very interesting. Now, for me, if a couple of things that he can improve in his game, apart from the hype and the hype and the hype, I think one or two things that I would like him to improve. I think as a good player, you've got to know when to pass. And I like his directness. I like his, forward mentality, but you've got to know when to lay it off. There are times when it's better to lay it off rather than shoot. For example, in the Leicester City game, he gets that beautiful chance. I think it's created by Martin Odegaard, and we are on a break. I think his shot slices over the bar. The first shot he takes, not the second one, right? The first shot that slices over the crossbar. If you zoom out the picture, Raheem Sterling is actually waiting for that ball. So if he squares that ball into Raheem Sterling, you never know. Maybe it goes in. So I think that's one thing that I would love him to improve. Know when to pass, know when to release your teammates, know when your teammates are in support, and know when you are actually in need of that support and use that support. The rest of the things, I think Ethan Nwaneri is quite a very, very interesting talent, and Arsenal will enjoy him more than we have ever enjoyed any talent before.